Hello everyone, and welcome back to Eduonix's Microsoft Excel course. In this section, we're going to be talking about charts and graphs. So let's get started. First thing you need to for a chart is some data, which we have here. The data we have is the protein consumption of various European countries and the different types of foods that they get their protein from. So let's play around with some of the charting features that we have available in this version of Excel. First thing to do is to go into the Insert tab, and over here you can see the different types of charts. So given the type of data, the most conducive way to plot it is using a column graph. So let's start with different column graph. So the first step is to select the data and go into the column and pick a type that you like. Let's just start with the simplest one possible, and boom. As you can see, it's already plotted it exactly the way you would want it to. It has put the different countries along the bottom, and it has used different colored lines for the different types of foods. So if we expand this a bit further, we can see a bit clearly. So it has all of these are the different types of foods, which are given here by the different columns: red meat, white meat, eggs, and so forth. The countries, which are the row headings, Albania, Austria, are the x-axis in the graph, and the actual numbers are the y-axis, and the length of the bars is whatever the value of the number is in the chart. So this graph is pretty nice, and it gives us a chance to play around with the different formatting features available. So first of all, you can see here are the different chart layouts. They refer to various types of chart layouts. So we can put a chart title, we have the legend, and they mostly change the placement of these things. So if you can play around with it a little bit, you'll see, this one puts the chart labels up top here, the legend up top here, and puts the number associated with the value of the line. And this one puts the chart labels back here, got rid of the chart title. And there's a whole bunch of them that you can play around with and see if you like the ones that you end up with. So let's take this one. So in here we can assign a chart title as protein consumption. Axis title we can name as protein in grams. And the bottom axis title can be renamed to country. So the other thing is we can change the style of the chart. So let's take a look at that. This mostly changes the color schemes, but there's more than just color schemes. There's also these things at the bottom, which also change the colors of the background of the chart, not just the color of the bars. And there are very many of these, so you can play around with them to get your chart looking exactly the way you would like it to. Let's use this one for now. The other thing you can play around with is switch row and column, which works really well in some graphs, but not so well in others. In this graph, what it has done is it has put the different types of foods along the x-axis, or the bottom or the horizontal axis, and the countries then become the different bars represented. So in this particular case, it's not too bad, but in certain cases, switching row and column makes it kind of useless. Let's switch it back, because this is still a better way to present this data. The other thing is layout. Now you can individually format all of the different parts of the graph, such as a chart title, axis title, legends, things, data table, and data labels. So let's see what it does. This center overlay title, so it'll put it right on, it'll overlay it along with the chart. As you can see, the top line of the chart is here and the title is here. You can also get rid of it, or you can do it above the chart. Same with the axis titles. You can do it below axis or none, or vertically you can do, sorry, guys in editing, cut that last bit out. So with axis titles, you have the horizontal axis title, and the only option there is to display it or not to display it. But with the vertical axis, you have a few more options. Right now, we're using the rotated title. As you can see here, protein and grams is rotated. If we didn't do that, if we use vertical titles, it has put the letters oriented correctly, but one below the other. So it has changed it to this, as you can see. Furthermore, you can also do horizontal title, in which it'll just write it properly, but use up more space to the left of your graph. This might or might not be desirable. In our case, let's just change it back to the rotated title display. You can also format the layout of the legend. The legend has a lot more options. You can place it differently in different places. Some of these options we already saw in design, the chart layouts. These are some of the pre-built layouts, but we can change the layout. We have more control over it, and we can change it as we like. So with legend, you can show it at different parts of the chart, and you can show it to the side and or overlaid as such. And again, you can always show it on top of the graph or the bottom of the graph, and so on and so forth. The data labels, again, you can determine where you want to put them. This one is in the center, is where we would like it, but you can also do inside end, which are all of these numbers, and you see they're on the inside of the chart, or on the inside of the line rather, as opposed to if you do center, they put it right at the center of the graph. But you can always also do it outside end, which will put it on top. And you can do inside base, which will put them on the base, but in this case, it's really not visible. So depending on the data that you're trying to chart, you have to play around with it and figure out what is the best way to visualize the data. There's no one way that always works, and it's a bit of an art to figure out a very good visualization. But in our case, let's turn off the data labels. Now, the other thing is you can have the data table shown. This is the data table we constructed the chart with, and if you show the data table, it'll put the data table right below in the graph, so you can easily check the numbers as well as the quick visual. Because sometimes the visual is hard to interpret. I mean, this one, is it 55, 56, 57? Given a table, you can quickly read off the exact value. And you can add the key. So now you can see what the different colors are for each of these cases. So for this one, this is serials for Bulgaria, which is 56.7. We wouldn't have known that exactly without the numbers there. Let's get rid of that again. You can also change the axes and how they're formatted. So we have the axis going from left to right, the horizontal axes, but we can also make it go right to left, in which case Germany and Austria will switch, and so will everything else. And it'll go Germany, it'll change the order it goes in. So Germany, Yugoslavia, USSR, UK, all of these countries were at this end, and now it has flipped those. This is useful if you have a specific order that you would want to display your data in. But if that is the case, you can always change the data table to be in the correct order that you would want to display in.